I just exited my car after a 5.5-hour trip to Adley Stevenson High School in Elk Grove, Illinois. I was there to watch my two nieces perform at the halftime show in the marching band at the Friday night football game. Mr. Toastmaster and all of my friends who can hearken back to that great American tradition. Well, at halftime, the conductor raised his baton. The musicians pre-staged in the end zone, shouldered their instruments, marched to midfield, turned, performed 5 numbers without moving an inch, turned 90 degrees, and walked back to the end zone. Mouth agape. I turned to my brother and said, I thought I was coming to watch a marching band. Did I just spend 5.5 hours in a car to watch a walking band? Sheepishly, he looked at me and kind of shrugged his shoulders and said, well, you know, there's a couple kids in the school that play musical instruments, and they can't march all that well. But they really had a dream of being able to get their varsity letter in band. So the administration altered the program to bolster their self-esteem. Excuse me, but I was born and raised and told in some strange parallel universe that self-esteem is something that is earned and not awarded. Contrast that to my own experience in high school. You see, I had a dream too, a burning desire. And that was to be able to participate in what I thought was the greatest day in Benton Harbor High School. It's called Varsity Letter Day. And that is the springtime when all of the varsity letter athletes get to wear their varsity jackets and their varsity sweaters and parade through the halls of Benton Harbor High School, proudly displaying their athletic colors. But there was just one little problem. In a high school of 2,500 kids, you had to be some kind of super stud jock to even think about earning a varsity letter. Super stud jock was not an expression that readily came to somebody's lips when describing Jeff Hammond. Undaunted, my freshman and sophomore year, I tried baseball, I tried basketball, I tried football. It was painfully obvious to me that I was not going to letter in any one of those 3 sports. Crushing disappointment. The administration was not about to alter the program to bolster my self-esteem. In an act of desperation, my junior year, spring term, I went out for track. But you have to understand, there's just one little problem. I wasn't that fast. I couldn't jump that far or that high. So after 3 days of utter frustration, the coach called me out. Hampton! See me in the gym after practice, before showering. They always like to give you the bad news before the shower, kind of like you can wash away after the shower. But I complied. To Hampton, I guess you know we're having a real tough time finding a spot for you on this team. But I got one question to ask you. I want you to walk over there to that chin-up bar. I want you to give me as many chin-ups as you can. I complied. He stopped me somewhere around 20 or 25. He says, darn, that's exactly what I thought. Skinny as a darn beanpole, but great upper body strength. Hampton, you got the last spot on the team rounding out the pole vault squad. I'm gonna be a pole vaulter. You should have seen me strut as I carried my 16-foot fiberglass pole down to the practice field each day. I trained like a demon. And about midway through the season, I was invited to join the travel squad. Do you know what that meant? It meant I got to ride on the bus reserved for the super stud jocks. My varsity letter was right there. And it was during a routine practice run that it happened. The heavens opened up. Beautiful harp music filled the air and the angels began to sing. For I was in the process of accomplishing the perfect plant. That is when the tip of the pole hits the back of the pole box, just as you're completing your forward stride, getting ready to kick off with the back one, kicking straight up, straight up, straight up to the sky, imparting maximum kinetic energy into that pole, bending it in too as it gets ready to catapult you skyward. Angels, here I come. That's when I heard it. No, not another chorus from the harps and the angels. It was the sickening sound of my highly stressed fiberglass pole beginning to splinter apart like a cheap number 4 pencil. Fortunately, I was only about 6 feet off the ground. Unfortunately, I was perfectly horizontal and smack dab center over the asphalt runway. Boom! The back of my head bounced off the asphalt runway like an overfilled basketball. A nasty, nasty concussion. 2 days in the hospital, a week off of school, and doctor's orders. No more track or varsity letter for you this year. Crushing disappointment. The administration was not about to alter the program to bolster my self-esteem. Senior year, spring term, my last chance. The coach, Hampton, you ready to get back to business? Good. We replaced your pole. Now, we want you to be careful out there this year, okay? Those poles are expensive. And it was during what we call the triangular meet that I placed third. But the heavens opened up, and beautiful harp music filled the air, and the angels began to sing, because with that third place finish, I had just earned the points necessary to attain my varsity level. And here it is. And now, you will notice in the back, the winged running shoe, that means track and field. You will also notice that this varsity letter is not sewn onto a cloud white varsity sweater. No. You will notice this varsity letter is not sewn onto a black and orange leather varsity jacket. No. Finally, cruel irony of the story. You see, varsity letters are awarded after the respective sports season. Track and field runs very late into the school year, almost to the end of the school year. 2 weeks after varsity letter day. Crushing disappointment. The administration was not about to alter the program to bolster my self-esteem. But my friends, this is the question that I ask you. Over the long haul, which of the two students do you think was better served? That student that had the program altered to bolster their self-esteem, or the student who had to wither the crushing disappointment of not being able to realize their dream? And as consolation, every once in a while I'll close my eyes and get into my dream state. And I console myself with the fact that for a very short period in my life, I was privileged to ride on a bus reserved for the super stud jocks. Mr. Toastmaster.